I'm joined by Harry Forbes, Research Director at ARC Advisory Group. Harry, thanks for being here today.
Nice to be here, Chris.
Your topic at the forum has been open process automation. Can you explain what that is for us in a nutshell?
Sure. That's a new idea that came out of ExxonMobil, but has now kind of been transferred into the open group or the stewardship of the open group. But the idea is to make a secure, standards-based, interoperable control system for the process industries that would, in a sense, converge the various proprietary implementations that there are now. The market in the DCS has been proprietary because it originated in the 70s and 80s. And so those systems require high availability and redundancy in many cases, and real-time performance. So they ended up being proprietary and have remained that way since. So this idea is to create more of a open system architecture for these kind of systems, even though they are very high availability and critical systems.
What sort of changes in the process automation market is open process automation likely to cause?
It's going to cause some severe disruption if it actually comes, because the business model that really works in this market is to, you recognize a long vendor lock-in period because these systems have a long life. So a vendor has a chunk of revenue at the sales and installation process and commissioning as the system gets started up. But then they can count on at least 10, 15, 20 years of services revenue for that throughout the life of that system. If you go to a much more small modularity system where components can come from any vendor and there's a much higher degree of interoperability, this largely eliminates that vendor lock-in in terms of the hardware platform and the embedded software platform. On the other hand, it does not eliminate the need for services. So end users are still going to need services. The systems are still critical, and they're still depending on these systems to operate with extremely high availability in order to get their production demands. So it will disrupt the existing business model, but it's not going to make the need for advanced services go away.
From a technology standpoint, you've written a great deal about automation that uses container and container orchestration. How does this relate to open process automation?
It doesn't relate directly, but what that is a trend in the cloud computing and software development environments where the technologies for development and for application deployment in the cloud are able to be driven down, if you will, to much smaller systems. And these technologies are extremely powerful, especially compared to the proprietary technologies that were equivalent in the automation products, not just DCS, but many other automation products and even sensing products. So when these technologies get deployed and become more pervasive, my feeling is that they're going to basically take over the space. And it changes the way products are developed, it changes the way they're deployed, and it gives the end users a lot more flexibility in terms of a deployment. So IT is moving in this direction, although they're not there yet, but much of enterprise IT is going to be re-architected in the next few years along the lines of containers and microservices. And that model is an excellent match for process automation because essentially when you have hundreds of different controllers each doing kind of semi-independent operation, that's very much like a microservices environment.
Why is container technology a good fit for industrial automation applications?
Well, another reason that it's a good fit is that manufacturers, and this is both in the process space and in the discrete manufacturing space, they need much greater flexibility out of their existing equipment. And so container technology for the software enables very rapid redeployment, repurposing, and also very rapid and easy incremental change. So these are things that manufacturers need very much, provided that suppliers can offer this capability to them using this technology.
Containerized software would be a huge change for this industry. How likely is it to happen, and how long do you think it will take for the industry to adopt it?
Well, that's a good question. I'd love to know, but there are certainly some major advantages to it. So I think it will become inevitable because if you look at the technology that people use to deploy applications from the cloud down to embedded systems, they have very different deployment and development technologies, and it doesn't make sense when engineering resources and software development resources are limited to pigeonhole people in different technological areas where they can't really cooperate and can't move from one to the other. So I think it's going to take over the whole space eventually, and the parts of the embedded system market will give up last, but even the embedded system vendors are beginning to embrace this technology.
Well, it's certainly an interesting topic. How can people find out more about it?
Well, I wrote a report on this in December 2018. It was called The End of Industrial Automation, and that's available on the app for people who are at the ARC Forum. And you could request a copy of the report, if you wish, from ARC Advisory Group by emailing info@arcweb.com.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing your insights with us today, Harry.
It's nice to be with you, Chris.
This is Chris Kinane coming to you from ARC Advisory Group's Orlando Forum. Thank you for watching.